Hey, welcome back. In our last video, we talked about some actions that you can take to help balance and simplify your life. Today we're going to talk about a 4-step process that I use to help get really clear on my needs so that I know which direction to go next. I call it the STAR process, which stands for stop, think, act, and request. I first started using the STAR process to teach students self-regulation. And at that point in time, it stood for stop, think, act, review. And while review is a really good thing to do, I decided to change it to request because it's more in line with the steps of nonviolent communication. The first step in the process is to stop. Before we can take action, we must get a really clear picture of the situation. We did that a little bit last week when we looked at what might be getting in our way. Using the framework of nonviolent communication, there are a few things to consider. One is our objective observations, or what we see without any judgment. Another are our thoughts or judgments around the situation. And finally, our feelings. It's important to consider how we're feeling because positive feelings are an indication that our needs are being met, while negative feelings are an indication that our needs are not being met. Now imagine your partner or roommate always leaves their underwear on the floor, and it drives you nuts. An observation would be, the underwear is on the floor. Your thought around that observation might be, the underwear shouldn't be on the floor. And if you thought about your feelings about the topic, you might feel like you're angry because your need for order isn't being met. The next step is think. Once we get a really clear picture, then we can dive deeper to get at our underlying needs. Needs are things that everyone has. So while my son might say, I need to play with the iPad, what he really needs is fun or pleasure. That's something that everyone needs to really thrive in life. It is important to understand the difference between needs and strategies to meet that need. The iPad, for example, would be a strategy to meet the need for pleasure or fun. There are lots of other ways to meet that need, like playing games, playing with Legos, dancing, any number of things. Once we understand that the thing that we want might actually be a strategy to meet a more basic need, then we don't get so stuck on that one strategy, and it opens us up to looking at other things that we can do to meet that same need. The next step is to act. Once we get clear on our needs and some strategies to meet that need, then we can pick a strategy and move forward. Earlier this week, we talked about some strategies that might help balance and simplify your life. It's important not to take on too many strategies at once because you might become overwhelmed. So picking one strategy to move forward and breaking it into small parts can go a long way. The final step in the process is request. It's important to know who you can ask for help, but it's equally important to consider how you ask. If you get really clear on your feelings and needs around a situation, then you're better prepared to make a clear request. Also, consider the other person's feelings and needs so that you can make that request with empathy. When you make a request, try to be sure it doesn't sound like a demand. Marshall Rosenberg used to say, "Grant my request only if you can do it with the enthusiasm of a child feeding a hungry duck." I'm not sure I would take it that far, because I believe there are some things that we need to do because it needs to get done. But it's important to consider that we should do things because we want to help the other person, not out of obligation. So when we make a request, it's important to appeal to that person's desire to help rather than make a demand that they do what you'd like. I developed this program to bring as much value as I could in a short amount of time. In my 3-month Ignite Your Power program, I used the STAR process to dive deeper into getting a clear picture of your powers and strengths so that you can help balance your energy and feel more accomplished in life. Keep an eye out in my next email for more information.